again, everybody. I am still getting a little bit prepared, but I just noticed some first-time chatters. In addition to Slow Panda, always saying good morning. It's equally as late for me as well. Huh. I knew it wasn't morning for you. Of course. I just had dinner, so I'm like, getting that system all settled out right now. Also, Paper Facts is our first time chatter. It's 10 p.m. Came to say good morning or good afternoon, whatever time zone. It is evening for me, sorry. It is 7 p.m. for me. Just behind you there, bud. Paper Facts, I think I said. And another first timer, SJ Clip 2. Hello. Hello back. Aw, how sweet to see y'all. Hopefully my... Oh shit. What the heck is going on with my Twitch subs? Y'all matter. I don't know. I guess I just didn't have the right link. Weird. Let me check my... What the heck is this one? Did I? Oh, I must have messed something up. I did it dumb. This issue must be resolved right now. It's a quick fix. I just forgot to export something. Since more and more people are subscribing and stuff, I decided to do it as a slideshow of images instead of just text. Unfortunately, they don't do that with text. Kind of weird, OBS, but I'm just going to export that image. No, I don't need to see what's new. Alright, everybody is here. I don't know where I saved it. I must have saved it somewhere random, because I swear I had saved it. I gulp. Gotta make sure I got that hydration game. The game of hydration is key. Twitch sub slideshow 1. And it should be there. Let me know, LMK. Anything happening? I'll just re-enter it. There we go. Y'all matter. No, I have killed all my Twitch subs. The old Twitch subs are dead. Why? Because I killed them. Oh. Oh, man. Also, I'm trying to figure out how to be louder, but not too loud. I'm trying to do maybe halfway. Oof, peaked there. I might have to, back away from the mic, test that out. Let me know if I'm too quiet or too loud, chat, because I have a little gain fiddle that I'm fiddling with that, so you may have heard me just kind of go up and down there for a sec. But the game is also a bit loud. I'm trying to balance everything out. It'd be cool if there was a setting where you could like have somebody remotely do it, or I think you could probably have somebody do it on a second computer, but it probably has to be in like the same room, I think, or the same connection, or the same computer itself, like system-wise. I don't know. I only do visual novels and other games. Yeah, alright. There we go, that's that. Okay. Compared to the music, yeah, I'm a touch quiet. How about now? The music is at like 40. I'm gonna bounce it back up a smidge. I said a smidge. I wish I could do like... No, I can't. Bummer. That'd be cool if you could. Alright, better? Ah! Leave it to me. Good here. Okay, I'll just settle with that. Close enough. Alright, let's get started in a second. For real this time. Everything looks good on my end. I'm making sure things don't go awry. I'm gulping again. This is gonna be a tough one. It's a scary update. Also, I am trying something new for anybody who only watches the Arches series. I have another PNG tuber that I've implemented, so that might be a little different. Anybody who's been here normally on Twitch knows already, so let's get started. Welcome back, folks. Dirk the Panda with some Arches. So, yeah, I decided to get into the winter spirits a little bit more and hibernate as a big panda bear. I like being bear. Embrace bear. So with that, I decided to, whip this up, and the one I'm currently doing the one that I currently have here, I made it, but in the future, I want to have somebody make it for me. I am commissioning somebody. That's the way I should have said it, but yeah. Okay, let me know if my hand's in the way. I might do one of these doohickeys. Maybe that. Just put it up in the corner. Oh, Super Bob, hello! Little while since I've seen you here. Definitely a recurring person on my visual novel streams. But then again, most of my VN streams are on YouTube. I have a YouTube, and that's where I tend to upload or stream. But I do put all my VN readings, Twitch or not, on there. So once this one's done, it'll go onto YouTube. It'll go in the playlist. You can see that in one of my links on the About page. I don't know. Gotta figure out how to do this whole link and explaining that. But yes, about Arches. We are on update 7. Even though this is episode 6, we did knock out 2 updates in one episode, and I think that was episode 4, if I recall right. 4 or 5. I recall one of those 2 being like the one we knocked out 2 updates. So yes, what am I gonna do here? Let's go to this page. Update 6 and onward, I guess. I could just change that to 6+. Man, I don't know, just having dinner and not having done enough reading yet, I keep gulping a lot. It's just like, Hopefully you're not hearing it on camera or audio, per se. How do you feel about Arches? I really like it. The things that are happening within the story itself are not great, but I think it's a really great story so far. As you may have heard, I recently stopped playing the Smoke Room. I did my last episode on it, my farewell, on last Thursday. I'm trying to do these streams on Thursdays now, the VN streams. So I've personally kind of fallen out of love with it, my own personal decision, and my own personal interest got me to be like, I should pass on this. I don't want to just be a husk doing this one, so I stopped. And honestly, if I end up turning on that and being like, no, I need to play it again, I would probably let you guys know, but I'm pretty dang certain, almost guaranteed, that I'm leaving that one go and letting y'all search it on your own. But Arches, I think, really captures the feel of Echo and whatnot really well, and it is very intense right now. We have this, and one more update is the rumor. The next update supposedly will be the final one, so everybody's excited about that, including me. Did it work? What? What happened? What worked? Did it? What? There we go. What? What's happening? What are you doing? What you doing? I don't see anything. I'm hoping all my things are set up properly. Oh, the badges. I was like worried that some sort of like redeem would happen because if I if you see the pinned comment, I turned off all sound commands and most of the rewards besides petting me or stretching and hydrating. Just because I don't want this one in particular to be silly or goofy. I want to stream more VNs on here, and for those, I definitely want to have the redeems on for some silly and goofy moments. But this story is definitely one I want to keep very straight, clean cut, like very straight faced. Yeah, I love your badge though, Slow Panda. I really love the badges here. That's like one of my favorite things about the channel so far, is having that. It is annoying too for like first founders and whatnot. They have to switch it over from first to the sub badge. But yeah, it's a really cool looking badge. I like it. I made it myself. Speaking of one more update / that, Password's true ending shall be available for patrons on Valentine's Day, public on Pi Day. Okay, yeah, Pi's March 14th. Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that Grizz did it a month in advance. Interesting. That will be fun, though. I'm assuming the true ending would be Path A, hopefully? Because if it is, then all I have is one update left. I am currently up to date. It is like day 24 or 25 or something along those lines in Password. So that is another series that is ending, and I can't pin 2 comments, dang it. Because I also am taking in suggestions for a new visual novel series. I have started to kind of get into a rut of only playing like 2 or 3, and normally I try and rotate it so like every week is a different one for the month. And so it's like I play a VN monthly for monthly updates, or have some slotted in if it's like every 3 months or whatnot, that interchange. But you get what I'm saying. I'm trying to get some more VNs in me. I'm trying to get myself back into it. Not too much, but just enough. And so I have a link for a Google form that allows you to suggest. And from there, I'll probably take the most voted on or the ones within it that I really like and go, oh, that would be a good one. So I'm copying that and pasting it in here. You can always remind me at the end or later on to post it again. I wish I could pin 2 comments, but unfortunately I can't. Or if y'all get that I turned off sound commands, I could do that. There has to be a thing, hopefully, that I could just have a command to say the commands are off. Oh god, a lot of reading. There we go. True ending follows path A, but true ending requires path A and finding all the medals. Which means checking out the other routes and end to path B. We might have a update or a episode where I'm just crashing through the game and speed playing it. I really like it, and it's relatively short. Okay. It's completed FEN, yes, for free. Isn't it great? But yes, to anybody who wants to, I pinned it right above Slow Panda's comment. Feel free to have at it. And yeah, I'll be checking back on it every couple of days to refresh the page, because I have a checkbox for ones that people already have suggested. And then from there, if yours isn't there, just comment it in the second question. It sounded interesting from the titles without prior knowledge of, oh, that's always a great sign. I love when that happens with myself, where I'm like, oh, the title's interesting, and you're like, what's gonna happen? I don't think you can speedrun the entire Path B content in one stream. I don't know if I would do it off stream in that case. That's a thing. It's like, do I have to do all of Path B in order to like get all the medals, or do I have to do Path C, D, etc.? Like all of them? I will be terrified if I do. I don't know if this would be spoiler territory, so if it is, you know, I try not to. Don't have medals. Okay, thank you, Super Bob. I am relieved. Terrified, but relieved. Yeah, I mean, C, D, E, F, and G are definitely ones that would be fun to go back to, but maybe off stream or just some other time casually. But I'm trying to get things like a full, like, path A completed, like one solid timeline just for people to have that. I don't want to get too, like, bogged down and all over the place, because I think I did an episode where I did accidentally go into, like, path C or D or something like that and just went... It just really messed with the, like, the theme of what we were going on. But yes, I've been talking for 18 minutes. Apologies about that. I need to record this on the stream timeline. I think there's a way to timestamp, but I'm probably going to worry about that on, like, Friday or something. Right now, I am bouncing back and forth between my pages, and I don't have a button for it immediately on hand. The Stream Deck does normally... and the Streamer Studio Online desktop does, but not on my OBS or mobile app. So I am going to go to Visual Novel Series and record the timestamps, because this really helps, especially on YouTube. And I probably will put it in the comments on Twitch too. The archives will only be on YouTube. So far, I have not done Arch's archives on Twitch. Or, I haven't done Twitch archives of Arches, probably a better way to say it, without scaring you. So I'm gonna guess about 7:45 is when I started. Introductions and tangents. Alright, and one or two more comments before we get into it. But yeah, if you want the true ending, you'll want to check out other character routes, at least until they randomly find a medal. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting. It will be fun to play the other routes. It just will be... yeah. Don't know if it's something that will be digestible on the stream, or something that is something I'll crave to do on my own. I might even just do it where it's like I stream it but don't read it out loud, where I'm just like, click, 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 and then look for it. Just to get some reactions of, I find a line and might go, oh. Oh yes, in case of emergencies. Yes, Super Bob, I love that one. I played, who is the tiger? Ah! Brain. I forgot. Wesley? Wes? I played Wes's routes. So far I have not played the others, but they could be interesting. It's a short story, and I don't know if I'd repeat through all the routes. Maybe that'd be something where I can get multiple people to hang out, come and leave. All of that's kind of up in the air, but that one would be a good short one if I want something only for a few months. Maybe only 2, however many. Might make it a couple of months, because I don't want to do too many updates in one stream. Or chapters, per se. Alright. We're going to begin the reading at 22 minutes. We just passed 21. Yeah, Wes is the tiger. I'm trying to remember... I thought there was a character's name started with a C or somebody like that. That was the MC's best friend. Who I forgot the name of the MC, or at least the default name. Dang it. God, I put something. Cedric. Yes, Cedric's awesome too. All of them are pretty great characters in my opinion. Honestly, the story's pretty good. Yeah. At first I was like, I'm too busy to stream it. I'll just do it on my own time. And so I did, and people are interested, at least some people. I'll have to check how many, because I don't want to do it if only like 2 people are interested, and then like 50 for another. Priorities, man. But at least so far, most of them I've seen are all pretty interesting stories. And with that breath, Kieran is the MC for that story. With that out of the way, let's get into Arches, shall we? This is the penultimate update. The penultimate update starts now. And because of that, you can see everything. Pain pounds rhythmically in their head like a heavy drum beat, making their ears pin back tightly before they begin to whine. Then they croak as their sore throat protests against making the sound. They stare at the scene before them. Then they blink. But it doesn't help them make better sense of what's in front of them. In fact, it seems to make it worse. Who's making sense of what's that in front of who? These intrusive thoughts about not existing. Who's having these thoughts?
See, you're coming round.
Fear raises up in his throat, something deep in his brain telling him to flee that voice, to escape it. But he's still too confused to figure out who or what he even is right now, because he still feels like nothing. But he's also still conscious enough to know that he is, in fact, something. He remembers that he's someone named Cameron. He remembers his situation, and he remembers that he's been drugged with shrooms and Xanax. His trip has reached its dizzying peak, his sense of self so utterly decimated that he isn't sure how he's ever going to feel the same again. The terror, the torture of the past 2 days has culminated to this, the moment that his mind gives in and breaks, and Cameron can't tell what's real and what isn't anymore. You realize nothing's real. But there's something else too. Despite the terrible loss of who he was, Cameron, this amalgamation he calls Cameron, is sensing things even more vividly than he had just a few minutes ago when he had contacted Dev. Cameron sees what's ahead of him, but he's seeing so much more. In his mind's eye, he looks forward, and he sees a myriad of people in front of him, though they're all the same people. Devon, Brian, and himself, locked in a vicious, spinning blur of claws, teeth, blood, and horrific, unidentifiable viscera. It's confusing seeing so many versions of himself and his boyfriend, and he turns his head to glance away, not wanting to see that violence. Then, noticing something over his shoulder, he looks back. This time, he sees the one version of himself, along with Brian. He sees his unconscious body being pinned against the tree for a while longer before he crumples to the ground.
What the hell? Oh, God, what the hell?
His voice is low, husky, and barely audible. Brian laughs, startling the coyote out of his visions of violence.
I choked the fuck out, that's what!
Cameron blinks at the bear, then back at the forest.
I thought I died. Not yet, kid. Got a few things to do first. You probably want to see your boyfriend too, eh? You're not sure you'll get to talk to him since he's knocked out.
Knocked out?
Yep. Wait, with what? Relax. It's just rough and all. Sure, I gave him a good amount, but they're a few decades old because they made him illegal back in the States in the 90s. You know, when pills get old, they don't work so good anymore.
Brian goes on and on about rough and all and how it used to be the premier date rape drug in the country. Oh man, that really got me hicking up. Drinking some water quickly. Remember to hydrate. This is not a funny visual novel. We are not hicking up. Cameron watches the bear's mouth move in waves and ripples, yellow teeth poking out from behind his lips, and saliva collects becomes frothy at the corners. Who's watching this? Cameron reassures himself automatically.
I'm watching this, and I need to save Devon.
He's not so convinced by the first part, though. Me, Cameron. Simple concepts that aren't so simple anymore. Just like in high school, he's stopped existing. It's different this time, though. The Xanax is certainly quashing the panic you should be feeling right now, but this time, his perspective is completely from a different angle. I'll try not to respond and get too distracted, but we did get a Circles reference. That is all. If you do make a funny comment, I might miss, unfortunately. Cameron's amalgamation does still exist, but the borders have dissolved, and he seems to be seeping into everything. Despite already knowing he's insignificant, he's still awestruck by how small Cameron is compared to the world. Even the bugs crawling beneath the leaves make Cameron feel small. An entire world he knows nothing about. But entangling his identity with the universe means he's also entangled with Brian. The bear is missing parts of himself, kind of like Artie. Shattered pieces and jacket holes pockmarking the landscape of his life. Cameron almost feels sorry for him. That maybe if things had been just a little different, the odds just a little more in Brian's favor, he could have been a very different person. What's really disturbing, though, is the genuine affection he has for Cameron. His urge to caress and hold the coyote, but there's a hatred there too. A disgust for what Cameron is. Young, attractive, and an F slur. Not just queer like Brian considers himself to be, but a full-on F slur. The kind of queer that acts real cute before fucking over the real men who should be doing all the fucking. So it feels good to punish Cameron, but it's even better to watch him suffer. To watch the way his body writhes, his mouth open for air, his eyes wide and fearful. Cameron feels himself recoil from understanding Brian's thought process, a way of thinking he'd never consider himself. But that thought process isn't what makes Brian the terrible person that he is. Cameron knows that most don't have a say in how their sexual interests and fetishes develop, so the thoughts themselves aren't exactly evil, at least not to Cameron. Cameron knew a few guys from college who had interests similar to Brian. During his first year of dating Devon, the bear had timidly asked if he could gently close his teeth over the coyote's neck and growl. It was thrilling and intense, and Cameron loved the rush. But then Devon had a nightmare about tearing out Cameron's throat, and that was the end of that. So too, Cameron, Brian isn't all that strange. What makes Brian different isn't that he has fetishes. He's not crazy. He's not a psychopath. No, the true root of Brian's evil is clear. He's selfish, and he's never satisfied with what he gets. Selfish enough to put dozens of young people through hellish torture until they finally died. All while having the capacity to fully control himself. I think I may have hit a button here. Sorry, this might remove something. F1 maybe? Sorry, I don't know what's happening with the... There we go. But all while having full access to alternatives like roleplay. But it's not enough. He always needs more. Also, to anybody who is coming in, 18 plus, and, well, obviously everything's 18 plus, but 18 plus trigger warning, really violent. Heavy violence and horror. Just for anybody who just pops in. Because I did see Rack say this is so harsh. And it is a good forewarning. Probably not the best visual novel stream to pop in on for the first time. But nevertheless, Brian, he always needs more. All for his own fleeting, drug-fueled sexual gratification, because at one point, Brian decided that's what makes him feel good. So fuck this world that makes him feel bad. But he's found some release in strangling Cameron, and now his focus is turning back to a vague idea on how to use Cameron's abilities. Something to stop him from spending the rest of eternity with his victims torturing him. Cameron could spoil the ending for Brian, let him know that when everyone dies, they just cease to be what they were. That's it. Ghosts, demons, poltergeists, creatures, creations of the living, and whatever it is, that's an echo. Cameron draws back at this point, getting overwhelmed by all the thoughts coming from the old bear, unable to understand them without more context. Looking forward, he glimpses the various scenarios again, and the one constant is death. Most involve him dying, and a good amount involve Devon dying as well. Cameron imagines that this is indicative of what's most likely to happen. But a few, just 2 in fact, show Cameron and Devon surviving, with Brian either living or dying. Cameron doesn't care much about the latter, just as long as he can get Devon and himself out of Echo alive. They could deal with Brian afterwards. Cameron doesn't even care much if he doesn't make it, especially in this state of mind. But he won't accept not being able to save Devon. Suddenly remembering what he had done earlier, Cameron tries to subtly brush his pocket and is amazed that the key is still there. Does Brian know? Well, he does know what Cameron had planned, but in his own excitement, and especially because he's tweaked out, he's hyper-focusing on other things. He'd also missed the key being taken out of his pocket. That and Brian's memory is terrible. Decades of drugs and neurotoxic doses had dismantled who he used to be. He doesn't even seem to remember why he choked Cameron in the first place.
Had to make connections down, Sonora. Stuff was over the fucking counter there. So it was easy to get, but getting over the fucking border was a whole different issue.
Brian suddenly stops talking, eyes narrowing. Cameron's pulse quickens as he wonders if Brian had just remembered his plan. What's wrong? His voice is still rough from the strangling, a deep soreness starting to emanate from the core of his neck.
I don't know. I just like you better when you're smiling. But if I'm fucking boring you, just say so.
It takes Cameron a few seconds to understand what Brian is even talking about, then a few more to scan the bear's thoughts. In Brian's mind, his smiling has a lot to do with how interesting the bear's over-explanation of Rothanol is, so Cameron quickly puts one on his face.
Sorry. It really is interesting. I'm just so overwhelmed with the drugs, Aunt. Shut up!
Cameron shuts up. Brian starts to work his jaw like he's chewing something, before clenching his fists. Cameron tenses up, preparing to fight again, preparing to be hit.
You're cute, but not that cute, and I'm not that stupid. I hate hustlers like you sucking up and sucking dicks so you get what you really want.
Brian's mind flicks through a few faces, but the only one defined enough for Cameron to comprehend is a fox in a red hat. Then Brian seems to relax, but the anger is still there, the bear having honed it to become more cool and collected, which only makes it all the more terrifying. Sure, stimulants increase empathy in a normal brain, but if Brian abused them to the point that amphetamines feel like caffeine, then it probably increases his irritability and rage. That's what his mother was like at the end, and it always confused Cameron as to why someone would want to do a drug that makes them feel worse.
I got a better idea.
Cameron gasps as Brian grabs him by the ear.
No, stop! I can walk with you. Don't try to run. Ow.
Cameron senses the bear's amusement as he fears are being pulled up by his ear again, and the coyote quickly stifles his begging, realizing it might shift Brian's interest back into using Cameron for torture rather than his abilities. The pain had been blinding, but it's nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what this bear has done to others. Cameron manages to settle into a stumbling walk as Brian pulls him along, bent over and trying to see the ground in the darkness, all while he tries to carefully follow the bear's rough, unpredictable movements. Every minute or so, Cameron looks forward and sees the scenario he's aiming for, still within reach, so he keeps walking. Meanwhile, a van emerges from the trees, parked a ways off the side of the road. Brian freezes, staring. Then he lets out a surprised laugh.
Well, I'll be damned. That fucker got away!
Who? The coyote winces as Brian continues to hold them by his ear. Cameron hopes that he's talking about Devon, even though he can sense the presence of the younger bear just ahead of him. The coyote would be glad to be proven wrong about his abilities, especially if it means Devon gets away. But Cameron knows.
That cat. I swear I shot him twice, too. Then again, he didn't do that weird jerking thing people do when you give him the kill shot, so I must have missed the second time. Thought maybe I'd kill him with the first.
Cameron looks where Brian is staring and sees the spot where Arturo must have been. Dark stains cover the leaves, along with what looks like vomit, and Cameron feels his own stomach churn at the sight. It's difficult to connect with his outgoing, oblivious friend to the mess, and Cameron feels guilt mingle with his misery as he realizes that what's happening to Artie is their fault. But he knows Artie is far away now, miles away. And Cameron silently encourages the cat to keep going, to do whatever he can to save them and himself, even though he's clearly in terrible shape. Cameron hopes Artie can hear him, even if he's awake right now. Cameron senses another ominous shift in the bear's motivation. Brian doesn't think that Artie will make it to the interstate, but he knows he should go looking for the cat. But everything was so fucked from the start. 3 young men who likely have been close family and friend groups, all 3 of them injured, beaten, and all 3 knowing full well what Brian is capable of. What Brian has done. There's no point to it anymore. Brian had almost reverted to thinking he'd get away with all this somehow. But no. This is the end.
Well, guess that's it then. Figured it was getting close for a while now.
The calm with which Brian accepts his nearly demise is making Cameron want to try and escape all over again. Why can't this bear just end it without taking them down with him? It's the end for him, not them. Can I see Devon? Cameron half-heartedly smiles, hoping it might sway the bear, but he's not paying attention to the coyote. Brian shakes his head at the sober version of himself, the version that actually did plan to let Cameron go, because why would he add to his problems by killing the Yote if the Yote could take him all the way? And take them all away. That's why he tried to be nice to him. And then, of course, things got out of hand. Cameron begins to shake as he senses Brian's arousal and excitement. He's thinking about Cameron, about his baggie full of bath salts, and about how long it might have been to find them in. Cameron blanches mentally, unsure of what that dark place full of death is, but he knows he does not want to go there.
Wait, where are you taking me? You're the sidekick. Figure it out.
Keeping his hold on the coyote, Brian pulls Cameron towards the van. It isn't long before Artie realizes that the lights along the interstate are actually a lot further away than he had thought. He has no idea how long he's been walking, but it feels like at least an hour, and the road is maybe just a little closer. At this point, he's so weak, his movements so uncoordinated, that deep down he knows his body is about to give up. Every dizzy spell, every wave of anxiety, it terrifies the cat that he might be having another seizure, and if he does, he knows he won't be able to get back up. Archie, please. Cam? Archie looks around hopefully. He'd probably start crying right now if Cameron just showed up, if only because he wouldn't be alone anymore. But then, Archie sees a pair of headlights closer than the others. And it gets closer and closer. Archie notes that the lights are coming right towards him, and he doesn't bother getting off the road, feeling like this must be a light at the end of the tunnel situation. And then, the lights slow, and Artie hears the sound of an engine. What the fuck are you doing standing there like a fucking idiot on the fucking road? Artie's ears twitch, recognizing the voice from somewhere in his past, in what might be another life. It's hard to tell because they're screaming at him. A car door opens and Artie just stands there, lost in the light. By the way, Kabu does voice Artie on Marshmallow Bears streams. He does a very good Artie. I told you guys to fuck off! First the fucking bar is closed because it's fucking cold, and now you're just here to fuck with me? I just want a fucking cunting drink to cunting relax! Arturo furrows his brows, never having heard the curse word used in such a way. A figure starts to materialize in front of Arturo, and finally he recognizes him. Oh, it's Duke. I think it is.
What happened to you?
The weasel stares at him, then tilts his head to the side, squinting before reaching out and turning Arturo slightly by the shoulder.
Shit, there's no way. He couldn't be that fucking...
Weasel trails off, then looks at Artie's face. Who did this? Artie reluctantly opens his mouth, for some reason feeling almost embarrassed about his condition. The weasel stares at him with an odd look.
Bar. Yeah, I was at the bar. It's closed.
Bear.
Bear? Brian?
Arturo nods and regrets it immediately as he almost falls over.
Damn, you're real fucked up, aren't you?
Arturo stares back at the weasel and notices his expression, like he's trying to decide something. It's not the right reaction to the situation, and Artie suddenly feels like he might be in danger, but he has no idea why. All he remembers is that this old man had floored Devon with 2 swings, so combined with his current state, he can't do a thing. Then, the weasel seems to come out of whatever it is that he's thinking about.
Well, I'll be damned. This is it then, isn't it? That stupid motherfucker. Alright, get in. We're going to the hospital.
Arturo stumbles forward, and once the weasel realizes he's having trouble moving at all, he helps Arturo inside. As he does, the weasel sucks in a breath, grimacing.
Jesus Christ, this is really making me not want to do what I'm doing. It's not making me want to go. God. But you know, everything's gotta end eventually.
Arturo isn't sure what the old weasel is talking about, but if he's taking him to the hospital, then he's at least on the right track.
Friends. Yeah. I'll call Peyton PT once I drop you off. Gotta make sure I can beat him back, though.
Arturo decides that it's the weasel who's acting strange. But as the strange weasel starts to make a 3-point turn to drive back towards the interstate, Arturo is only grateful. He's done what he can, and now the rest is up to God. He can only pray. So he prays for Devon, Cameron, Maria, and himself, because if he survives, he knows the road in front of him is long, fractured, and broken. Devon feels his body bouncing and shaking in a hard, metallic surface, occasionally leaning from side to side, feeling like he's laying down in a car taking sharp turns. The bear opens his eyes, groaning.
Dev?
Cam? Is Cameron driving? The coyote has his own sedan that he drives, but usually if they're out together, it's in Devon's Jeep. At first, he thinks maybe he's given the wheel to the coyote so that he himself can give some rest. But they came in the Jeep, and Cameron can't drive standard, right? Come on, stop assuming things. Lately, Cameron seems to bristle whatever he does. Lately, as in ever since they got to Echo. Devon, I'm here. How you doing? Cameron's concerned, gentle voice is clearly masking something strained and desperate underneath. Cameron, what's wrong?
I told you he's all drugged up.
But he can barely talk.
Cam. Exactly. I already told you I roofied him. It's like blacking out. Anyway, it's wearing off. He's just tired.
Is that blood?
Why is he bleeding? Did it to himself. Imagine what a mess he'd be. If he wasn't drugged, right? Oh, I never trust a bear to stay put when you chain him up.
Devon, can you hear me? Are you okay? Yes. Yes. Then he's drifting back to sleep again. More sounds of driving on a rough road, gravel grinding under wheels and hitting an undercarriage. When he comes to again, it's stopped, and Devon realizes the van doors are open.
Looks like it did wear off just in time. Can I go to him? Please?
Devon sees that one of Cameron's ears is twisted at the older bear's grasp, the coyote's head tilted to the side, wincing as he tries to get a better look at Devon. The younger bear becomes very still, seeing his best friend being held by the worst persons he's ever met. Oh yeah, that's a good idea, Kabu. Yeah, especially if you don't want spoilers. I'm also pretty glad too. One of his soft, sensitive ears that Devon had played with countless times in the past is now twisted slightly onto itself. In Brian's other paw, he holds a shotgun. On top of it, Brian looks angrier than usual. In fact, he's looking at Cameron with an expression of utter contempt, all while Cameron isn't paying attention to him, lurking intently at what Devon instead.
Of course. Fucking typical. I'm glad I saved this.
He suddenly grabs the coyote by the shoulders and turns Cameron around to face away from Devon. Even so, there's no confusion as to what happens to Cameron next. Brian turns slightly away from Cameron, then spins and sends the back of his fist across the coyote's muzzle. The sound is so loud that Devon is shocked awake, adrenaline compensating for the sedative. At first, Devon refuses to believe what he just saw, that a sound like that could ever have been made with Cameron's muzzle. The coyote's head snaps to the right before he instantly starts to crumple, but Brian holds him up. Hey! Devon yells automatically, shocked by what he just saw. He never seen someone hit that hard in his entire life. In the silence that follows, the distinct sound of something small clatters around the van, as if a plastic bead had been thrown down against the metal walls. Devon hears it land next to him, and looking down, he sees something long spinning in place before he finally comes to a stop. It's thin, white, and it starts wide, but tapers to a sharp point. Devon only has a moment to focus on it before he grunts as Cameron lands on top of him, Brian having pushed him over. As he's looking down at the coyote and sees the blood beginning to seep from his mouth, Devon realizes the white thing is one of Cameron's teeth, and shocked anger overcomes the fear. Hey! All sense has seemingly left Devon, everything he's feeling and thinking condensing down to that one word that he screams to express his rage. Cam! Cam! Panic is making him breathe fast, though he tries to keep his chest from heaving and avoiding bouncing Cameron's head. Brian has hit him so hard that it definitely could have killed him. What makes it all the more terrifying is the way Cameron's body went limp. It had been so reminiscent of Artie's sudden collapse when we had suddenly lost his life. But Cameron is breathing, though it's in a terrible, snorting way. Cammy, baby, can you hear me? The panic in his voice lowers to an almost pitiful whine as he stares at the coyote twitching, his eyes half open and his head turning back and forth slowly.
Oops. Took out a bit more on him than I meant to. Oh, fuck, that hurts.
Brian shakes the paw he'd used to hit Cameron, as if bashing Cameron's muzzle made it sting. Devon's rage crescendos once more. Brian! I will fucking kill you! Brian looks surprised for just a second, then he goes on grinning, enjoying the reaction, as if he's watching a show. This only makes Devon angrier. I'll knock every tooth out of your fucking head! I'll tear your throat out! I'll... Devon's voice weakens, breaks, then trails off under Brian's apparent glee at the younger bear's fury. Realizing that Cameron's ears are twitching at his shouting, Devon returns his attention to Cameron as this coyote lets out a low, rasping groan. Cameron, honey, you can hear me, right? Cameron. Meanwhile, blood oozes out of the coyote's nose and mouth, seeping into the fur on Devon's stomach and side. Devon tries to keep his sobbing and gasping to a minimum as Cameron's head continues to rest over his diaphragm. Cameron's eyes flutter, then he blinks, and Devon sees the light of the consciousness re-enter his eyes. Cam! Devon? Cameron grunts under his breath, lifting his head slightly. Brian already looks bored at the catastrophe he just created, and now that he keeps looking over his shoulder into the darkness that stretches behind him, shifting impatiently. Alright, make it quick, Yote. We need to get moving. Don't you touch him! You could have broken his fucking neck! Devon's voice cracks and turns hoarse again. Brian bristles, finally reacting, but Devon turns his attention back to Cameron, continuing to try and gently coax him into a state of consciousness. Come on, baby. Baby, can you hear me? Can you understand what I'm saying? Slowly, Cameron lifts his head, a mixture of blood and saliva connecting his lip to Devon's fur in a long strand. I'm okay. I'm fine. Cameron sounds confused as he mumbles, trying to get up unsteadily. No, stay still. No, get up! Didn't I tell you to do what I do? God damn it. Didn't I tell you what I do to bear? Did I tell you what I do to your bear if you don't? Then do it! Come over here and do it, you fucking coward! You fucking scum! Devon. Cameron's voice is calm, albeit quiet and weak, and the bear goes silent as he focuses back on the coyote. He has his head lifted, trying to focus on Devon's face. Who's feeling this right now? The question catches the bear by surprise. What? The mines. That's right. I'm going to the mines. And I'm coming back for you. Cameron clasps a paw to his muzzle, wincing hard as he shuts his eyes tight. What? What mines? Stay here. Devon's eyes well up with tears, seeing what the coyote is barely coherent, barely able to understand what's happening. Then, Cameron leans in to kiss the bear, again taking Devon by surprise. He immediately smells and tastes Cameron's blood, making the gorge rise in his throat. It reminds him of his predatory nightmares, but Cameron insists, so Devon forces himself not to heave. He doesn't want to feel the gap where Cameron's lower left canine used to be, the unevenness of his already swelling muzzle. As he forces himself to kiss back, he feels something else press against his lips. Something hard and oddly shaped. Devon opens his muzzle, allowing the blood to flood into his mouth, but with it comes something else, and Devon realizes all at once that it's the key. Devon maneuvers the key into his muzzle as subtly as he can, hearing Brian sigh impatiently behind Cameron. It slides under his tongue, tiny in his comparatively large muzzle. Cameron whispers into Devon's ear, "We're gonna go back home together. I promise." But where are we going? Why the mines? Honey, please. Devon can't keep the whining panic out of his voice, sounding like a cub, but managing to keep the words clear with the tiny key under his tongue. Devon just stares at Cameron as he pulls back, tears rolling down his cheeks as the coyote crawls weakly to his feet and steadies himself against the wall of the van.
Ugh, you're fine.
He turns his gaze back to the furious, sobbing bear.
Sit tight, kid. We'll be back in a little while. I promise.
Being knocked out, regaining consciousness, stumbling his way through the dark, all while an untold amount of shrooms is harrowing. That's the only word Cameron feels is appropriate for this situation. Harrowing. The word is more dreamlike than his dreams. This combination of disorienting factors leaves Cameron fumbling through a series of events immediately after he'd reached the old bear. Brian grabbed his paw, and suddenly they were moving swiftly through the desert before Cameron is pulled into a place that's cold and dark, lit up dimly by an old electric lantern, its handle hanging from the barrel of Brian's shotgun. If Cameron thought his perception of time was fucked on weed, now it's twisted over itself. He's exhausted, having not eaten a proper meal in well over a day, and his throat is so dry he thinks he might be willing to drink Brian's drugged water. Each time Brian goes around a bend first, or his bulk obscures it, the lantern's light disappears or Cameron is left in darkness. Each time that happens, brilliant red arcs crowd his vision. Who's in darkness? I am. I'm in the darkness. Everything is in darkness. No, just me.
Stop fighting it. You'll only make it worse.
Cameron is surprised by the bear's sudden appearance.
Where am I?
Brian sighs heavily again.
Doesn't matter.
But Cameron crumples something. Cameron crumples up as something jabs him hard in the sternum, twisting in on himself, feeling a black hole open in his chest. It sucks the rest of his body and attention into it as the canine curls up on the hard dirt floor, whining and grunting. Finally, air returns to his lungs, and as it does, he hears a snorting sound again. After a while, Cameron looks up from his position on the ground to see Brian on his knees, appearing to smell the stock of his shotgun. Then Cameron notices the white powder, and he understands what's happening. Cameron hears a familiar voice, one that he's unsure that he's hearing. And he is sure, and that he's not imagining. I honestly just noticed it, but when the lights light up like that, arches. Isn't that clever? Don't snort it. You're trying to coat your nasal cavity, not your fucking lungs. That's how my friends did it. And your friends are fucking idiots. Brian looks up from his disappearing line of bath salts. Who you talking to? Cameron quietly tries to hush Dylan, but Brian already heard them. On top of that, Brian doesn't seem angry or upset, but his continued stare demands an answer.
His name's Dylan. He's my ex. Sorry, we don't get along well. You getting some third man syndrome? Whenever I get real fucked up on too many drugs for too long, a person always shows up. You end up having a conversation with them and everything.
Brian readjusts the way he's holding his lantern and gun and grabs Cameron's arm with the other.
I hear it happens to some people in survival situations, too. Anyway, I'm always too delirious to remember who the third man is.
Yeah. Cameron can't understand how Dylan isn't real, but this nightmare bear is apparently... Is he being tricked?
Alright, here's the deal. I'll stop hitting you as long as you're smiling. Got it? Huh?
Brian clenches his fist meaningfully. Cameron winces, then quickly stretches his mouth into a large smile, even though it hurts to the point that he tears up well up into his eyes.
Sorry, I didn't realize what you were talking about for a second. I remember now. Sure you do. Pathetic F-slur.
Brian continues to expect Cameron as the coyote remains quiet, keeping a smile plastered on his face. This experience is too much. All of this is too much. He just wants it to stop, and he'll do whatever this bear, this source of his torment, wants it if it prevents him from being hurt again.
Guess I did bust your chops pretty good, huh?
Cameron flinches as the bear grabs his badly aching muzzle in one giant paw.
Wait, will you please don't? Ah!
Cameron cringes hard, but tries his best to hold still.
Yep. Broke your tooth, too. Swelled up a bit, but you're cuter with your face all messed up like that. Too bad it's gonna look real ugly by tomorrow morning. Not that it won't matter.
I do. It's just hard to look at you now. Look at that stupid scar. Brian lets go and grabs his shoulder instead, at the same time glancing at Cameron's shirt.
You from Bridgetown? Timber City? Or did you just pick up that from the Goodwill? I always say, when you're shopping at the Goodwill, never pick up clothes that have anything to do with the place. Fuck, just a few years back, I took a Weston sweatshirt from the Salvation Army and...
Cameron follows along silently. Meanwhile, that third presence has shifted into something else. Something a bit more familiar. Brian's getting chatty again from the second dose he took.
Anyway, I hear that this city's overrun with Antifa and all that. A true liberal hellscape if there ever was one. So damn libs.
His mother, following behind them, is holding a paw. He's holding his paw. Looking back, he can't see her clearly, but he knows it's her. It's okay. A lot of the time, it's outside groups coming into the city making trouble. Even sounds like her, defending the city they both grew up in despite its problems, despite its streets becoming a stage for the country's culture wars to physically play out. This is kinda weird. I mean, they go to Peyton technically, but... They went to Peyton College. Or Pueblo, goddammit, Pueblo. But... This sounds like... Kinda like a Chicago situation with how they're describing it. The only thing that I could say that's close enough to it would be Portland, Oregon. But then again... That's in Oregon. This is kind of the equivalent of Utah, kind of Colorado area. I don't think Colorado's next to Oregon, if I recall right, because I don't know states. But yes, this really... It really does sound like... It sounds like he's kind of from that Oregon-ish area. Oh, I'm thinking maybe he got the shirt from home and then... Okay, sorry. My brain just had to think about that. And maybe he is talking about equivalent to, what did he call it? I think he called it Weston? Wait, did he say it there? Yeah, Weston. Okay. Yeah, Weston. Sounds like a Portland type of West Coast. But still, He even sounds like her, defending the city they both grew up in despite its problems, despite its streets becoming a stage for the country's culture wars to physically play out. Even while they suffered on the outskirts of what's supposed to be a liberal bastion lit by the lights of tolerance and welfare, but instead glowing orange from burning cars and flashbangs. And yet, they defended it, because they both believed in its core principles. Now, though, Cameron looks behind himself while also looking back. He's taller than she is, and he's reminded of just how small she was. How small she'd seemed to him now if she'd survived. He would have saved her too, if she could have held on just a little longer. But how much longer? 4? 5 years? Could she have held on that long? No, not with her habit and the amount she was using. And though Cameron doesn't want to admit it, it was her death that spurred him to make the first serious change in his life. His mom wasn't a good mom. All things considered, she shouldn't have ever had children. But how could he judge? She was just 17 years old, excited and in love, living out of a 70s Chevy van, but all of that came to an end when he was born in December 1995. Oh boy, this is interesting. Exactly 2 years before me, and exactly the month my brother was born. That's funny. Cameron could be my older brother. Then, his abusive, probably schizophrenic father left and committed suicide sometime in the mid-2000s. But for a few months in 1995, his parents truly wanted to make a good life for him, and that feeling from that moment in time overwhelms Cameron. They wanted him to be happy, successful, and they truly thought he'd be the one to break the curse of poverty on both their families. And even though they wanted that for him, they especially wanted him to be happy, to have a family life and a childhood that both his parents were only able to see other kids enjoy from afar. They tried. But it's the most typical love story for people like them. Because then, like in all of those other love stories, things break, and then things settle. He'd done the exact same before Devon. She should have taken more precautions. She left him alone in the trailer often, her medications and recreational drugs freely available for him to experiment with while she was at work. He became an addict just like her, and he had come to understand the baggage that comes with that label. That's not just about a craving or desire for something. Everyone has that. No, it's about who you are as a person. We're going to quickly stretch on that note. Keep this in mind, this quote right here, the one that I'm pointing to. Alright, I had some water. That was the rest from my cup. Next time it will be the sink water. But no. It's about who you are as a person. A liar, a thief, a cheater. Someone willing to do anything to get whatever it is their addiction demands. Anything to feel good. Whatever it's pathetically checking all the coin dispensers at a casino once you've spent your life savings, or pathetically combing through the carpet for whatever drug it is that you're starting to come down from. The only thing that saved him from that life and death was his grades. Somehow, through all the substance abuse and neglect, he was a straight-A student. And that's what got him a partial scholarship to the University of Pueblo. And that's what got him out of the trailer park surrounding Bridgetown and into this state's flagship university. A few schools in his own state had better offers, but Pueblo was the most prestigious of the schools he got accepted into. A top 100 school with the best ranked nursing and engineering programs in the region. That, and at the time, Cameron wanted to be far away from Bridgetown, even if that meant the desert. Wait, was it in the nation? Oh, I just said top 100.
My school was top 10 in the world.
Or at least it was like top 20? It was something like really high. Like, it was like top 5 or something, like public schools in the nation, and then like top 10 or 20 or something like that in the world. Yeah, my university was pretty awesome. But I get you. Transferring. That, and at the time, Cameron wanted to be far away from Bridgetown, even if that meant the desert. And then, he met Devon. Wait, was it she? Wait. I don't know, either way. And he met Devon. She wasn't a good mom. But she was a great person. A wonderful person. And she did it the best she could with what she had at the time. She brought him into a chaotic, unstable life. A life that she saved multiple times, while he occasionally wished his mother would have just let him die. Now, Cameron is only thankful. While most of his life was tough, the past 5 years have been better than he would have ever even dared to dream was possible. His life was perfect up until yesterday, when they got here. Tears run down his face, conflicted about how he should feel. But just knowing that he misses her, that he loves her, and that he hopes she's okay wherever she is. This third person squeezes his paw reassuringly. Cameron squeezes back, and he's comforted by the feeling that for this moment, he's sealed off from Brian and the town, and it's just him and his mom walking through these mines. She tells him that she's proud of him for graduating high school and college, and she's happy that he found Devon. Would she really be proud of him if she knew what he studied? If she was still around? I would have majored in business administration or something.
What did you major in?
Jeez.
What did you major in?
Smile. A gentle voice from behind him, barely audible, and carried on the soft breeze that grows weaker the deeper they go into these tunnels.
Music theory. And what the hell are you supposed to do with that?
Teach. The automatic answer, the one that he had prepared for all of his skeptical friends who were going into STEM-related fields.
You a teacher?
No, but that was my plan.
Some plan?
I mean, I didn't go into any debt, so I had financial freedom after I graduated. Oh my god, it sounds like my dad talking about my graduation. Yeah, you did get into debt. Like, yeah, because had privilege there. And long story. Anyway.
You know, you're pretty coherent for someone that's on that many shrooms. Most people would lose their minds.
Oh, I definitely am. It's, I don't know. I have more control than I did the first time I tried it. In fact, Cameron feels like he's losing his mind right now, laughing even though it makes every part of his body ache.
Xanax is like magic when you're panicking.
Anyway, what is it that you do for a living? Did it all pay off? Judging by the tone in Brian's voice, he already knows the answer to that. Customer support, for Julian.
Sad. Working for a country that we nuked twice. Back in the 80s. We used to beat those people up for working for companies like that.
Cameron's not lost for words, but only for a moment.
Oh. Okay.
Julian, the current market leader in smartphone manufacturing, is Taiwanese, and the coyote assumes the bear is thinking of a certain other country in the same region. Oh, I think I might know what you mean. Is that Taiwan? Taiwanese. Oh, that kind of makes sense. Either way, it's a strange and disturbing aside. But that's just Brian. And sometimes with Brian, it's best for Cameron to just keep his mouth shut and to also keep on smiling.
So I'm music. You sing?
Cameron wishes the bear would stop asking him questions, making small talk like any of this is a routine part of their lives. But the coyote assumes breath salts will make anything or anyone talkative.
Kind of? What do you mean, kind of? Either you sing or you don't.
Well, yeah, I sing, but not very good.
I mean, you fucking better be if you spent 4 years learning. How about you sing and I'll decide?
It's getting harder to keep up the cheerful charade as Cameron senses the cruel, malicious arousal rising up inside of Brian again. The second dose is making him do more than just talk too much. Sure, just think of one to sing.
Anything you want to hear? A lot of 90s grunge and alternative rock. You're a walking, talking stereotype, aren't you? You're at your own music.
I definitely tried. A subtle twitch of annoyance ripples through the air.
One thing that really pisses me off is when someone's acting like an overly humble little bitch. Either you do, or you don't. Either you're good at it, or you're not. Either you offer something different, or you fucking don't. So what the fuck is it?
I do. I can. Just give me a second. The corners of Cameron's muzzle turn down slightly, his composure almost crumbling. He's doing the best he can under his current circumstances, but he needs help. Devon, where are you? Brian's attitude shifts from one extreme to the next, making Cameron feel the sort of emotional whiplash. But as long as it keeps him from getting hit, or more importantly, killed, then he's fine with that. Tentatively, Cameron starts to sing, choosing the song that got him the most attention. The one that was played in moderate rotation at Mountain West colleges, along with a few in the Northwest. A song about his ex, Dylan, about their mutual love and hate for each other, about the abuse they used to hurl at each other, physical and mental, and finally, about their breakup. His voice is rough and cracked, and while having some of it is because he isn't warmed up, it's mostly due to having his throat crushed. Dehydration and screaming doesn't help either. But aside from jolting each time Brian pulls him in a different direction, Cameron finds the melody and rhythm. As he does, he becomes a bit more bold, singing louder until his voice carries through the tunnels. It feels very strange with his swelling muzzle and missing tooth. Brian still says nothing, and Cameron realizes he's listening intently. While this makes the coyote nervous, he knows it's better than the bear being angry, and mainly, he just needs to keep singing. Devon is in the mines with them, and he needs directions. Cameron just wishes it doesn't feel like he's leading Devon to his own demise. Finding the entrance wasn't hard. While the main entrance had been blocked off with rebar before being filled and sealed with concrete, he'd known about the side entrance from the supernatural forums he researched before coming here. That and Cameron's blood was sprinkled here and there, and the scent of it spurred Devon on. Of course, it led right to that entrance. He had started unlocking his cuffs the second he thought Brian might be out of earshot. He had fumbled with his tiny, slippery key before freeing his wrists, revealing blood-crusted fur matted down to the broken skin. Now, Devon moves through the mines in complete darkness. It's almost suffocating, almost panic-inducing, but the scent of Cameron mixing with the foul odor of Brian pushes the younger bear deeper into the tunnels. The air feels tense, as if the mine itself is intent on seeing what happens next. He's not going to fall into another abyss. When Lupita died, it had been an accident, one that happened after a tornado shredded their town, leveling the block across the street, but leaving their house mostly intact. As a 12-year-old, he just didn't think that it could happen. They had survived the actual disaster, but just as the relief started to set in, and his guards started to come down, it happened. He felt powerless in that situation, and he knew that her death had happened because of him. But this time is different. He couldn't fight what took Lupita, but he can fight what's taking Cameron. Damn it! After about 10 minutes, though, Devon starts to become more agitated, unable to hear them any longer, and going by scent alone, Devon can tell that he's lost the trail. Shit! He hisses through his teeth, trying to keep quiet in case Brian is somehow nearby, lying in wait. And then, somehow, you hear Cameron's singing voice. Devon goes completely still. He'd recognize his boyfriend's voice anywhere, of course, but Cameron's style is different, having the qualities of a singer from the 50s while retaining a grunge-like roughness. The coyote was heavily influenced by the black and white musicals his mother used to watch late at night. He was embarrassed about it after being critiqued in one of his vocal performance classes, and he had been trying to change his technique when Devon first met him. But Devon always liked Cameron's voice, and it was due to Devon's urging that Cameron leaned into his style. Devon begins moving as fast as he can while staying quiet. He knocks his nose into a few walls and scrapes up his elbows and shoulders, but he keeps moving, simply trying to force his way into the direction of the voice. Then, just as he thinks he's a few turns away, it stops. Then, Cameron screams and Devon drops all attempts at stealth. Cam! Brian! He calls out to let Brian know that he's there, to at least distract him from the coyote. Then, he barrels his way through the darkness, trying to find what he's sure is the last turn. Why Brian has brought Cameron here, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know where he's going to do when he meets them. Well, anything. He'll do anything. Brian is looking a bit more distracted, starting to scan the tunnel wall before his eyes settle on what looks like a large crack from the ceiling to the ground. Cameron turns up his singing a notch, knowing that this is their destination, the end of the road. The old bear glances at him, looking annoyed. This, for whatever reason, is what brings Brian out of his stimulant-induced hyperfocus. Brian finally realizes what's happening. It's only now that the old bear remembers Cameron's plan to take on the key. Even Cameron forgot. But now, a huge paw flies to his pocket, digging inside and realizing it's too late before he whirls on Cameron. "Oh, you little F-slurp!" Cameron turns and runs, trying to take advantage of Brian letting him go for those couple of seconds. Something pounds into Cameron's lower back, just to the right, and feels like a cannonball being smashed through his body. Cameron is launched forward against the tunnel wall directly in front of him, and he tries to hold on to it, sliding out slightly as he stares up into the darkness. It's so dark that Cameron can't tell if the ceiling is a few feet above him, or if it's simply endless space full of glowing arches that stretch on forever. His eyes stay wide, his breath leaking out of his muzzle in a slow, high-pitched grasp, not wanting to believe the pain he feels spreading through his insides is real. Then, he's on the ground, writhing and groaning uncontrollably while electric pain spiderwebs through his body. The blows Brian had delivered before are nothing compared to this. Cameron thrashes around in the dirt, desperate to find a way out of hell. He's in hell. Side note, I totally did not intend this to be the title. I was just, joking. I hadn't seen the slide, so really good coincidence. All right. Anyway, who's in hell? He has to be. What are these red arches, and why are flames spreading from his guts up into his lungs? Damn! You'll probably only piss blood after that one. Brian's mock concerned voice snaps Cameron back to the situation he's in, and in the very back of his head, he realizes the trip is beginning its descent. And good night, Slow Panda. Hope you rest well. Sorry to end on such a sad note. The pain is still present, though, and it's not letting up. How can he feel pain if he's nothing? He's finally breathing again, but each exhale is accompanied by a whining wheeze, involuntary tears rolling down his face. Brian leans over him, and the coyote cringes. No, stop, please! Brian pauses, then just grabs Cameron by the arm and yanks him up. Cameron lets out a hoarse, breathless scream as his aching body is forced to move again. It echoes around them before cutting off as a huge arm tightens around Cameron's throat. Cam! Brian! Devon's voice is very close, maybe only a tunnel or two away. Brian mumbles quietly next to Cameron's ear. Shut the fuck up right now or I'll obliterate your other kidney! Got it? Cameron feels the threat hovering over the left side of his back this time, and he quickly shuts his muzzle, even though groans still force their way up, muffled behind his lips. This seems to at least satisfy Brian, and he drops the chokehold before shoving Cameron forward. At first, Cameron is surprised that the bear didn't just hit him again anyway, but Brian's distracted again. Devon's too close, and a few terrible plans go through the older bear's head that causes Cameron's already aching abdomen to lurch with nausea and fear. Brian considers waiting and ambushing Dev, but he quickly discards the idea as he realizes Cameron might try to warn Devon by making those noise right as he reaches him. That's exactly what Cameron would do, even if it means being beaten to death by Brian. Deciding again that nothing matters anymore, he pushes Cameron forward through the narrow opening, the passage becoming more tight until Brian has to turn sideways and struggle through. And then it opens up. Cameron smells death. He instinctively backs up right into Brian. No. Please don't do this. I can't. He can't finish his sentence. Brian's victims felt pain that still seems unimaginable to the coyote. Knowing Devon is close behind them, Cameron makes one last effort to turn and dodge around Brian. But the bear is far too large, and he easily grabs up the coyote and throws him further into the hollow. Cameron comes up immediately, trying to suppress its whines and whispers. Brian, just wait a second. Think about it. Think about it. I can help you. Why did you bring me here in the first place? Brian gives Cameron a dispassionate look, but he does pause, and that gives Cameron some hope. And some time. Let me talk to them. Let me see if I can reason with them. We both know that all of this is over. Cameron says there's a slight shift in Brian's intentions as the bear begins to seriously consider Cameron's reasoning. I know you need my help. I can feel them. They want you, Brian, and they're waiting for you. I know what it can be like. Walking in circles for most of your life. Making the same stupid mistakes and knowing what you need to do to get better. And just never doing it. Oh, yeah? But I finally did. My life was almost perfect. Until I met you. So let's do it. Let's end this nightmare right now. Brian takes a deep breath. And holds it. The entire mine, the entire town, seems to hold its breath with him. And Cameron starts to understand how deeply entwined this bear is with this place. This entity that seems to be pulling all the strings. Cameron can feel the monolithic entity shift and turn, as if it too senses an inevitable end. Brian is close to taking the coyote's offer. But it isn't meant to be, and Cameron, of course, knows that. A scuffling from the entrance announces Devon's arrival. Guess he's finally here, huh? Glad I brought my 10-gauge! Always want to make sure you get good firepower when bears are involved, eh? Cameron watches in horror as the old bear opens up the shotgun before inserting a shell. Cameron's mind is blank as he automatically lunges at the huge bear, grabbing at the shotgun barrel as Brian snarls in rage. Everything's falling apart. You're spiraling. Devon shoves his bulk through the narrow passage, squeezing through to the hollow on the other side. When he stumbles into the open space, Devon spots Cameron immediately. The coyote being swung left and right as he fights with Brian over the shotgun. Cameron is covered in blood, tears matting the fur on his cheeks. The situation is already a terrible one, but again, his fear for Cameron turns to anger at Brian as he sees the bear throwing vicious, crushing kicks at Cameron's lower body. Devon realizes this is it, and he has no time to think. Devon charges up behind the older bear, and it bites deeply into the side of Brian's neck. Apparently, biting someone other than himself is a lot more effective, and he feels his canines sink deep into the flesh beneath the thick fur. The old man is covered up in a layer of protective padding, just like himself, but the older bear clearly has a lot more of it. Still, Brian screams, high-pitched and full of fury. Then, Cameron is finally shaken loose from the shotgun, and Brian grabs the barrel with both paws, ramming the butt of the shotgun back into Devon's stomach. The younger bear retches and crumples over, but he manages to grab the shotgun, holding onto the stock tightly. Brian, clearly of how bad the situation could become for him, lets go of the shotgun so he could turn around and throw a knee up to Devon's hunched form, an inch above the navel, almost the exact spot he hit earlier. Devon feels as if his guts are flattened to his spine before liquefying, the force actually lifting him off the ground for a half second. Even though he lands on his feet, he immediately sinks to his own knees, muzzle wide open as he continues to battle with his own lungs. All while still trying to hold on to the shotgun.
You're a damn walking boy! Well, on your knees, anyway! What a surprise!
Brian fumbles shakily to find the stock of the shotgun, hidden somewhere under Devon's bulk while simultaneously trying to avoid the end of the barrel in case Devon is able to find the trigger. The attack had been enough to rattle Brian, even if it was short-lived. Devon curses at himself, trying to move, knowing he probably can't win, but he needs to do something. Maybe hurts Brian so bad that Cameron can at least get away. Get up! But he can't breathe. So there's not much he can do to defend himself, let alone stand up. So Devon keeps his hold on the shotgun, even as Brian starts trying to yank it from his weakened grasp, and he's starting to succeed. Cam, run! Devon rasps, not even sure where Cameron is right now, assuming he still might be on the ground after being kicked so many times. Brian squeals. Looking up from this double up position, Devon sees Brian in front of him, bent over as well, the grizzled bear grabbing between his legs. As Brian sinks lower, Cameron appears, lowering a foot. The coyote smiles with relief and joy at seeing Devon, and seeing that he's got the shotgun. Cameron seems so sure that they've won that he doesn't see Brian's quick recovery, the old bear forcing himself off, murderous vengeance in his eyes as he runs at Cameron with another animalistic scream. Devon can only watch as the huge bear charges at Cameron. No! The much smaller coyote can only yelp in panic before Brian smashes him and crushes him against the wall. Devon hears a crunching sound just as he gets the first tiny sip of air, just as he hears Cameron's own air wheeze out in a yowl-like moan. And then, even more viciously than Devon had attacked Brian, the old bear begins to maul Cameron. Brian bashes him left and right, with blows aimed at the coyote's face before Cameron collapses. There, Brian begins to rip and tear into the coyote with his claws. Devon begins to move, but it's slow, and he just wishes his lungs would start working. He struggles with the shotgun, but it suddenly opens up, and Devon doesn't know anything about working guns. So he leaves it behind, just knowing that he needs to stop Brian. Cameron tries to crawl away from Brian, and Devon sees the horror mirrored in his boyfriend's eyes. Then Brian comes down on him again, and Cameron throws his left elbow back at the bear's face, only for Brian to sink his teeth into Cameron's forearm and elbow. Then he twists and tears, and Cameron lets out a howling sound, his body twisting violently. He's on his back now, and he goes quiet, staring in shock at the wall he's laying perpendicular to. His eyes begin to roll up as Brian thrashes his head, and a crunch comes from Cameron's arm. The coyote can't make any sounds now, and the breath seemingly knocked out of him by the pain. Devon has never heard Cameron make these feral pain sounds. Not like this. And to see him in so much agony that he can't breathe, can't even vocalize it anymore, it gives Devon the final push he needs. He charges into Brian, and the force knocks the old bear off the coyote. Devon has never seriously mauled someone in his entire life, but it's something that comes naturally to him and Brian, And while he had play-mauled people in the past, including Cameron, this is the first time he brings his claws, teeth, and muscles to full use. Straddling the older bear, Devon roars at Brian before lunging down. First, he bites Brian's neck again, but from the front this time while his paws rip and tear into the bigger bear's hide. Brian seems to concentrate for a second before burying his fist up into Devon's stomach, but the younger bear is tensed up this time, and the fist gets no further than his stomach muscles. Still, Brian's power is almost supernatural, and Devon lurches and grunts, folding over, an ache forming deep into the pit of his belly, but it only makes his bite harder. Devon can feel that he's truly stunned the old bear, at least for now. As Brian takes his fist back, he resorts to panic shoves instead of actually trying to fight. When Brian finally does try to claw at Devon's face and eyes, the younger bear leans back and smashes his head into Brian's muzzle. The sound of it indicates a broken snout, and Brian lets out another high-pitched whine before screaming and trying to lunge up and bite Devon's neck. Devon leans back, just avoiding the teeth before smashing his head a second time into Brian's face. Then, as Brian lays dazed, Devon lays into his snout 3 times, full force, trying to pound every bit of agony into Brian that the old bear had given all of them. That would be impossible, though. Still, Devon feels a savage satisfaction as he sees at least 2 of the bear's old yellow teeth roll out of his muzzle. Brian howls and rolls violently, finally dislodging the slightly smaller bear. Devon heaves for breath, watching as Brian comes up several feet away, crouching and also heaving for breath. You fucking... You! Brian can barely form words, not just because he's out of breath. His bitter hatred is evident, so mad that only frothy spit flies from his lips as he sputters. But then Brian's eyes flick to the right, and Devon remembers all at once that he left the gun there, having been focused on helping Cameron. The old bear moves lightning fast once again, and he shoots off to the right, and Devon realizes Cameron is there too. Cameron, look out! Cameron, laying in agony after Brian's vicious attack, knows something is deeply wrong with his body. The crushing against the wall of the chamber had done it. The true pain, though, emanates from his left arm, and Cameron knows that it's mangled, broken, and useless. But he can still use his legs, and Cameron forces himself to get up and start moving for the shotgun, hearing the snarls and growls of the bears behind him. He does his best to stay quiet, but stifled grunts and small squeaks force their way out of his throat. As soon as he touches the shotgun, though, he hears Devon shout, Cameron, look! And again, the nightmare that Brian is tearing up his body, pinning him to the wall, and Cameron screams in terror as the huge bear starts trying to bite his neck. The panic coyote is only just able to get his unbroken arm up. It's maybe only 3 seconds before Devon is there, but it feels like an eternity. Cameron considering how badly it might feel to die from having his throat ripped out. Cameron's right arm is torn up as well, but since Brian is just gnarling and isn't shaking his head at this time, his bones at least remain intact. Then Dev wrenches the bigger bear off of him. Cameron tries to get up to crawl, but it's useless. His body too bitten and broken to do anything other than dragging himself away. Then he hears Brian's high-pitched squealing again, and this time, it's genuinely terrified. Cameron looks over and sees the old bear is now on his back with his arm in a sort of hold by Devon. Devon is laying on his back, Brian's arm pulled toward his chest. Devon's hips close to the older bear's shoulder as his legs lock together at the ankles. Devon grunts and heaves with all his might, his huge, powerful body arching towards the ceiling. Devon is intent on really hurting Brian this time, wanting to make sure he pays the old man back for Cameron's tooth and arm. So, with the two-part avenged, Devon focuses on destroying the other bear's arm. Bear bones are especially hard to break. Devon has never had a broken bone in his life, but the younger bear knows a thing or two about applying force. His dad watched MMA all the time, and while he knows little about the fighting, he knows why arm bars can be so devastating. But even as he leans back, bending the big bear's arm over his inner thigh, only a few cracks are heard, but it's nothing serious. Devon needs the arm to have less resistance and more distance from the fulcrum. Unlocking his legs, he takes just a second to slam his foot right into the bear's old jaw. For just a second, Brian goes limp, and Devon relocks his ankles before lifting the limp arm away from his chest and curling up. Then he heaves back on the arm again, arching hard while he twists his body. Torque! Now you're thinking like an engineer. As the catchphrase of one of Devon's old professors comes to his mind, a crack splits the air, and Brian's screams somehow reach a new, panicked pitch. Devon looks over to see Cameron has dragged himself a few feet away, leaving a dark, horrible blood trail smeared behind him. Devon stumbles over to him, hovering his paws over the coyote's neck. Baby, your neck! Let me see it!
He did get me. Let's go.
Cameron is in no shape to run, so he groans as Devon lifts him into his arms, the bear starting to stumble towards the exit. Devon looks down at the coyote in his arms, now just seeing how truly terrible Cameron's injuries are. Need to get you out of here. Shit, Ugh! In the frantic chaos of Brian fighting off Brian and in making sure his boyfriend wasn't bleeding out, Devon had forgotten something. The butt of the shotgun, powered by the bear's huge body, reminds him with a harsh, sickening ache that spreads in a wave through his body. Cameron hears the dull thud, followed by the vibration through Devon's thick body. He feels the bear cringe as he sinks into his knees, huddled over Cameron. The huge bear lifts up the shotgun he'd managed to keep a hold of. He struggles to hold it up with only his left paw, and his injured right arm dangles before he practically swings it up to prop his right elbow against the wall. A few pops coming from his shoulder as he does. He screams again when that happens, but with his fully functional wrist, he can now take steady aim, and with how narrow the hollow is, there's nowhere to go.
Don't you fucking move! You got that? This is over! I'm killing that yod in front of you! And then I'm ripping your fucking arm off, boy!
Brian's expression is an odd mixture of excitement and disgust.
Pity you ain't half as cute as a pup!
Devon can only wheeze in response, and Cameron holds on to him tightly as he's cradled in his arms.
God, you fucking ruined it! He was perfectly fine till you showed up! How he's fucking fucked up to the point he's not even fuckable!
Cameron's ability to see and feel things is fading, just as the effects of the shrooms are fading. Still, there's just a bit left. And Cameron tries his best use of it. Devon's body begins trembling, and Cameron holds on to him more tightly. Devon's voice, still breathless, whispers into Cameron's ear. Honey, whatever happens, just play dead, okay? No matter what. But Cameron suddenly turns Devon watches as Cameron's face becomes a bouquet of red ribbons, and the bear stumbles as the shot hits his arm as well. Cameron's body jerks violently in his arms before going incredibly still. Devon quickly looks down to see Cameron no longer with a face. Everything that used to make up his face is splattered against the walls, and it still pours from. Cameron is gone. In shock, Devon looks at his arm and sees the white of bone shards, at first thinking it's his own, but then he sees a few of Cameron's sharp teeth also embedded into his arm. Devon leaves over Cameron's body, an expression of untold anguish on his face as he starts to let out a low, terrible groan that raises to pitch in a bearish howl. After looking forward, Cameron does the only thing he can think of. No! Cameron grabs the barrel and shoves up. The sound of it is so loud it instantly deafens Cameron. Though the ringing starts to subside, the hearing in his right ear doesn't come back. Cameron! Cameron! I'm fine. I'm fine. Cameron looks to where Brian is. The kickback from the 10 gauge hit him so hard, squarely in the chest. Cameron can almost visualize the shock sent through that old, worn-out heart, already exhausted from the stimulant and the fight. The old bear, still on unsteady feet, stumbles back a bit more before hitting the wall and sliding down to sit on it. Brian sits propped up against it, looking confused. He clutches his chest, rubbing it and grimacing. The shotgun is on the ground, out of Brian's reach, and the old bear makes no move to get it. Fuck! He starts to try and get back up, but falls back down. Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Brian clutches at his chest and stomach and groans. Oh no. That was it? Is this it? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the... Brian slumps back, his body convulsing. Then he thrashes about, as if trying to escape something. He knocks over and smashes the electric lantern, crushing it under his weight. For several more seconds, they both listen to Brian's groaning, rasping, and snorting before it's silent. It's quiet for a little while longer, Cameron and Devon not daring to move. Brian had seemed invincible for so long. Cameron can't get himself to believe that it might be over. Devon whispers into Cameron's ear. Cameron, how do you feel? Cameron gives Devon a look that's a mix of love and exasperation, even if Devon can't see it right now. They both know he's badly fucked up. I think something raptured. It feels all wrong. Cameron places his right paw on his torso, wincing. Don't move, okay? I'll get us out. I'll get us out in no time. Devon starts to tentatively make his way forward, and just as Cameron is realizing how long this might actually take, possibly too long if there is internal bidding, his vision flickers. Cameron stares at it. then looks at Devon, wincing at the bear's bloodied and bruised face. But Devon doesn't react to the light, like Cameron's the only one seeing it. But a shroom trip can't emit light no matter how hard you're tripping. I think I could see where to go. Just walk straight. How? Cameron starts to shake his head, then stops as his neck sends a pang of fiery pain down his back. I don't know, but I can see. Let's just get out of here. Please. Cameron tries hard not to look at Brian's crumpled form against the side wall of the hollow, his wide eyes open, glinting from the gentle glow. Okay. Just tell me where, okay? And sure enough, as they leave, arch after arch appears, and Cameron is confident they'll lead to the exit. These arches had tortured his mother, but this feels like his mother somehow. As they move, they both hear rustling sounds far behind them in the mines. But Brian is definitely dead, or at least had been when they left. So they keep moving, trying to keep quiet. Then, within an hour, real light. Daylight. Devon looks down at Cameron and winces just like Cameron did when he saw Devon's face. God, honey, we're gonna get you help, and you're gonna get better, okay? But what about you? Do you feel okay? Cameron's voice is weaker than it was earlier, and Cameron feels Devon quicken his pace. I'm fine. Devon says it sternly, setting his jaw, and Cameron stays quiet. Cameron, I'm sorry. That's the last time you're saying that to me, okay? I don't blame you for anything. I'm just so glad I met you. He listens to the bear's heartbeat, steady for the most of the journey, but getting faster as they get closer to the exit. I think I hear a helicopter. Maybe a megaphone. Shit, did people come for us? The shotgun blew out my hearing, so I'm not really sure. His trip is mostly over, yet these visions are so vivid. Cameron stares at this new arch, and something about it feels different. Oh, Mom, I found it. Huh? Her arch. You're seeing arches? You know how something can happen that's so impactful it can split your life in two? You see life as before, and after that moment, it can be good or bad. Devon hesitates, like he wants an answer to the question he just asked, but he lets it go, for now. Of course. I think meeting you is the good divide in my life. I think what happened here, and what's going to happen after, I think that's the bad divide. It had always been his mother's death, and it still is. A divide. But this time, Kevin realizes he's been deeply affected mentally, and it's something that he just cannot recover from. Something's truly wrong with him. That's been the case for a long time. But now, after this, something's been pushed over the edge. So, another divide. I think we're gonna be okay, Cameron.
Devon, whatever happens after this, I love you and I'm so happy I met you.
Come on, you didn't have to say that part first. You didn't have to say that first part. You made it, okay? It's just another fork in the road.
Cameron gasps. Oh, Devon, Artie's alive. He went to get us help, I think. I hope.
What? How?
I don't know. He got shot, but got away. Brian was pissed. He's hurt, but I think he made it.
Oh, that's... Devon's lips tremble and his face twists up slightly as he tries not to cry, but it's out of incredible relief and happiness. Cameron doesn't tell him how bits of Artie are missing, or that he can't sense him anymore, both because of his waning powers and because Artie is too far away. At least that's what he hopes. Cameron stares up at his arch, looking both beautiful and terrible at the same time. Raincoat Monster stands to the side as they pass, and this time, Cameron does think it's his old hallucination. Cardboard and unmoving, just like he's always been. But something about all of this, the way he's seeing things, something has been changed. It's not his psychic abilities, because now it's subtle and hardly noticeable again. No, something else happened, and his mind feels wrong. Looking forward is no longer clear, but as Cameron uses the last of his psilocybin in his system to peer into their future, he becomes afraid by what he sees. So he just turns his muzzle slightly to Devon. Cameron, we're going to make it. Based on what he saw, Cameron isn't sure. Devon will stay. He was able to see that much. But should he? More than anything, they both want to stay together. But if Cameron becomes a burden to Devon, he doesn't know how he can stay. He just hopes that Devon can still love him after this terrible change. And he hopes he can fight it, whatever it is. So, Cameron leans his head against Devon's shoulder, smiling in a mostly happy, but slightly sad way.
All right.
Now let's get the hell out of here. To be continued. Jeez, that was just too beautiful. Oh, I could not get my eyes off of that. That was just... Whew. And of course I had to check my phone. I was like on Do Not Disturb, and yeah, of course my dad would notice. Yeah, I'm like, I try and be specific about what days I'm doing it. It's like they should know, but they still are like, oh, you're trying to sleep. And it's like, or it's like my brother's trying to sleep, and it's like, couldn't he just sleep in another room? Seriously. And we keep going. Howley, Paint Fox, Cardamon, Anthemix, Orion, Gumdrop Studios. This is our team. Wow. Wow. My goodness. I really didn't think this was gonna get that crazy, but it really did. I got so passionate about it. I think it's the most passionate I've been about an update in a while. And it paid off. Like, this was such a insane update. I can't say it's like, oh, it's such a great update, because it's like, oh, like, you know, a lot of bad things happened within it. And, you know, the ending was fingers crossed good. I'm hoping it's not a split into two realities and one this and one that, and we're turning out to be in the other reality. That is always my paranoia, that the part where Cameron got shot is like, that's the actual reality and we're just faking this one. I always get paranoid about that, because I did see like a thing in 5th grade where it was like, I forgot what the story or the video was based off of, but it was like a story where it's like a guy's about to get hanged, but then it seems like he escapes. He runs off, does his, you know, gets away and all that. Just when he's about to settle back at home, it turns out no, he didn't escape. He actually got hung. And that's always my paranoia. It's like, gee, that really shaped my mind for the rest of my life. Yeah, it was very heavy. So, hi, I didn't mean to ignore your comments earlier. I just got really, really into this story. And yeah, just a good one. Yeah. But geez. Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm really impressed by the writing on this one. This really felt like I was coming back to Echo again and the climax of it. But maybe better in some ways. I think maybe also it's because things are more condensed. It doesn't feel like certain things are dragged out as long, or you have too many interpersonal conflicts. It's just this main like cast of like 4 to 5. But even with that, or with our 3 protagonists, but still it's like, holy lord, just what a ride. I don't know what's gonna happen with update 7 and the final update, or update 8, sorry, 8 and final update. But I'm still scared. I feel like we're not out of the woods. But this whole story culminating together, it's been great, and I'm so happy that I've played it on this channel and have seen other people play it too. And I have to say, if anything, this might be one of my favorite VNs. It's something I haven't felt with a visual novel in a while. Maybe it's just because with a lot of visual novels right now, I'm kind of in the middle of them rather than towards the end. But yeah, this one's like, I'm just so scared of what's gonna happen. Yeah, luckily I do have this on my playlist for YouTube. I have all the different series as playlists on my YouTube channel, so just checking OCD. But yeah, it's like I make sure to catalog each series, like all the series and their episodes, so each series has their own playlist and with all the episodes. Yep, and I make sure those are grouped together in like a section that says currently active or finished or whatever. So yeah, if I finish one, you can go to that, or if I keep going with one, you can look at that. Quite, jeez. I'm breathless. I'm just in awe. It's great. Excuse me. And I probably should not talk much longer because everybody in my family is probably pissed at me for getting too passionate during this update and going ham on the lines. I don't want to be that I am going to be that person. I really felt good about those lines, especially towards like the big climax of it. Like, there were definitely parts where I'm like, okay, I'm not as confident with, but really at the climax and the real high energy screaming moments, normally I feel like I'm just reading the line, but this one really felt like I was in the character's mind. Try not to rub my ego, but I don't know, sometimes I'm just proud of the moment. Yeah, sometimes you gotta go ham time. Oh my god, what is that? That is the perfect emote for that is the perfect emote for an Echo Arches stream. Where the hell did you get that, Snugs? What the hell did Snugs the Husky do? Jeez. But seriously, good stuff, good stuff. So we are going to raid out to somebody, and yeah, let's just say we got a lot of baggage as we go to them, so, and I'll probably be quiet for the rest of the night. And to anybody who is still here, I'm probably gonna give you like a minute or two before I set up the raid to get a little voting in. If you want to check out my channel, obviously the YouTube description below, but if you want to see more stuff here, and maybe it will be either uploaded there or streamed and played there or whatever. Either way, folks, I am taking more visual novel series, and so I'm going to just pin that for a second for y'all. This is the poll, and yeah, we are trying to take in, me, myself, and I am trying to take in more visual novel series, because either I want to continue some that I've kind of dropped, or for mainly the most part, try some new ones on that I can maybe catch up with, maybe play more in a casual sense where I can have friends come in and out, because a lot of these series I don't want to add people in the middle and give people like a little, not culture shock, a little whiplash. I don't want to give people whiplash with like episode 70 something of Tennis Ace being like, wait, there's a cast now, or people are coming in and out. But yeah, I am absolutely at a mind fucked, and I feel like my life is gonna get fucked, or not my life, but I feel like I'm gonna get fucking punished for this, even though I am an adult, 25 years old, pretty much exactly 2 years younger than Cameron. Uh-oh. The door opened. Well, that might be a good cue to raid. But yes, this will be in the description, too, of the video. Oh, no, they're going to the bathroom. Whew. I am a menace. And of course, my dad uses the whole, oh, your neighbors are going to complain about this in your apartment, or whatever. And I'm just thinking to myself, I didn't have that problem last time, plus I'll try and do it against a wall that doesn't have people next to it, plus Yao lives in a studio and he doesn't tell me that he's gotten complaints. I'll have to ask him for advice on how to set that up so if I go ham on any scenes, I'm not worried about pissing off the neighbors. Cause God, it's like, I want to do this, I love doing this, but I always hold myself back. Usually, like 99% of the time, or 90% of the time-ish, I always am holding myself back because of the house, everybody having their early bed schedules. But yes, I appreciate this stuff, and for anybody who wants to know when I'm doing visual novels, like normally now, this is my plan now. I am now going to do streams of visual novels, so I'm going to play visual novels. I don't know why I'm saying it 5 different times. Restart. I'm now going to play visual novels every Thursday. So that's what these series are. I'm going to play an episode from, each of my different visual novel series. The day I'm doing it is Thursdays. So the time itself, might fluctuate 5, 6, 7, depends on
the house and everything right now. When I'm in a studio, it'll be better. But yeah, the plan is Thursday nights are the streams, and then the other days are other things. With the exception if nothing's happening that week or I have room for another VN, I will make an advanced announcement. But the plan is at least once a week, visual novel. Because that's what I used to do before I kind of went on a hiatus. So, yeah. I'm branching into being a variety streamer, but I really want to keep those visual novel origins. It's something I've built myself on, and it's like sometimes you kind of get in and out of something where you get that third act or second to third act like bridge where you're like, no, I actually don't love it, and then you go back to it and you realize you actually do, but you're trying to find the purpose. You know what I'm talking about in movies where it's like the third act, second act, like drama or whatever between a couple. Oh, thank you, Aya. That's so cute. You got the pride heart. Where do you get that, the pride heart? Aw. I can't get that pride heart. Bummer. Alright, too much ranting there. This was really fun, and I really am honored that you guys came here to watch me play it. This will be on YouTube if you're watching it on the VOD. Hi! I did this on Twitch, twitch.tv/DirkThePanda. I'll be alternating between these two forms on stream. Channel name will still be the same, Dirk the Panda. So, who will we raid? That was what I was about to do before I stamped the poll to the channel. Okay. Twitchy time. Who is going? Okay, we got Outcast playing Death Stranding. We got Sims 4. We got Slush playing Cooperative Puzzles, the game. Or is it called? Oh wait, Human something. It's the one where it's like things are building up. I think Rack was playing it earlier, and then Rack stopped streaming it. Or well, no, sorry, Rack stopped streaming earlier. They were streaming earlier. Ixu's playing League. I gotta send him a post now about League. I found a TikTok. A lot of the bigger streamers I follow are streaming, so this is not gonna be a small creator raid. I'm debating. Let me just control click and see how far, who was that I clicked? Oh, Outcast. I didn't raid them yet, I just clicked on them on the side, so... How far are they? I'm gonna have to temporarily switch over. It looks like they might end soon. They're almost 5 hours in. I'm debating. Gosh darn it, I also have to switch over my audio. Okay, they don't sound like they were having any ending stuff immediately, so possibly I might just check out Ixu's just in case. Oh no, actually, you know what? You know who I haven't rated ever, and fingers crossed that they are not ending soon? I'll still probably check you out in a bit, Outcast. I'll probably multi-stream people, but loading. Yeah, Slush Dog. I don't think I've ever raided Slush Dog, and they have such a fun like raid thing they do, like a little raid too. Oh, and they're playing the scrimbly human game, Human Fall Flat. They're also 4 hours in, so oof. I don't know. Why is everybody streaming for 5 bajillion hours and almost ending? Help! Maybe I could, like, cut this part out of the stream, but... Yeah, once you get to this ending point here, you're probably already logging out. And you can always skim to, like, the last 10 seconds to hear me say the famous, "Take care, folks" line. If you want to stop watching now, here's the abridged "Take care, folks," but we'll do the real one later on. Okay, Ixu is definitely closer from their start. Like, they're only 2 hours in, but I rated them like a week or two ago, so I don't want to
I want to give other people the love, is what I mean. Alrighty, folks. We're gonna start with a Slush Dog raid. Hope y'all enjoy it. We're gonna post the raid message. We're gonna do a different raid message this time. Any ideas? Oh, your voice is so crisp. Oh, well, I'm glad if at least having my voice around is calming and, yeah, as long as things are not boring for y'all. Because I know it can be boring when things ramble on too long. Oh, thank you for petting my tummy. And for pets earlier from, who was it? Somebody petted my tummy earlier. Oh my god, this is gonna be so dumb. Bad news, Brian nearly killed us. I hate that I thought of this. Oh, Victor, thank you so much, Aya, for finding that. I couldn't scroll up enough. But yes, Victor, thank you for your pets earlier, too. And no, thank you for stealing garbage all the time. I'm kidding. Just a fun little thing to tease about on Rack's channel. But yes, I hope I'm not going too far with this. There's Brian. They killed us. Oh, Lord. Alright, here we go. Let's get started. We're raiding Slush Dog. And I hope in the 2 seconds that I changed over, I do not miss the stream. I have 5 tuning windows open. That's always fun. Here we go. Let's get started then. Alright, chat. I really had a blast, as I said multiple times. I like saying it too many times, because the more I say it, the better it is. The better the game is, that's what I mean. Definitely check out Arches for yourselves. The link is in the description for this. It will be in the VOD and the YouTube VOD. Alright. So, this is it for tonight. I appreciate y'all coming. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, take care, folks.